all you weird, beautiful Homo sapiens.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Corey, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Sense podcast, episode 2.
Episode 2.
We have a crazy wild case for you guys today. It's one that's really popular right now, especially on TikTok. We're going to get into that shortly, but first, we want to welcome you guys back. Thank y'all for listening to the first episode. If you haven't, please go check that out.
And if you're back, thank you.
If you're back, God bless you for making it through that first one, because we kind of rambled on for a while.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Every episode won't be like that, though.
No, this one's definitely not going to be like that. That was our first one, so we just wanted to get a lot of stuff out, I think.
Yeah.
But this one's going to be more of like a normal podcast episode, right? We're just going to we're going to do our events of the week.
Right. I mean, we might get off track a little bit.
Well, I'm sure we will.
We
That's
usually do.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we're going to get right into our story, because it's kind of a long one. There's a lot of information. It's a very recent case. It's still happening right now, so there's a lot unknown, and it's obviously not finished.
Yeah.
A lot more to come, but we'll get into that.
Okay, so let's go into our events of the week.
Events of the week. Also, guys, if y'all didn't know from the first episode, we do have a video version of our podcast it's on YouTube. You can find that in the show notes. There's a link to that if you would prefer to watch this podcast instead of just listen.
Sorry. I know I always like to watch if that option is available.
Me too. Yeah. And we're always going to put stuff, especially whenever we're getting into the case. We're going to put like video and photos and stuff on the screen to help tell the story a little bit better. So that's always an option if y'all would like to go to our YouTube and subscribe, please. Please follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, all the places. We'd really appreciate it. Even if y'all don't use, every platform, it will just help us out if y'all could just follow us there.
Yes, please do.
But anyways, let's get into our events of the week.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay, go ahead.
And we don't share this with each other before.
Yeah, I have no idea what she's about to say.
So it's like a raw reaction, but I'm so over the whole Pinterest mom era.
What? What is that?
Okay, that is whenever you literally have to do the most, like for your kids' birthday parties, just like if you send anything to school, it has to be so extra.
But what does Pinterest have to do with it?
Well, like every mom goes to Pinterest and you look up and like it's like all these moms try to compete with each other to see like who
on Pinterest. It was like a Pinterest war between all the moms.
Yeah. And you just it's really good for getting ideas, but then I think it kind of gets taken out of hand.
Mm.
And so, like every time I have to send something for her to school or a birthday party or whatever, like that's just automatically the first thing you do is go to Pinterest and see like how could I elevate this, and I just.
Okay. So what's the issue? You don't like the competition?
Yeah.
But you just said yourself, though, that you go there to get ideas. So.
I know. Well, I feel like it should be like moms helping moms, not a competition of who can do it better.
That makes sense.
I don't want to compete with other moms. I want to cheer them on. You don't even have to be a mom. It's with anything you do. It's doing your makeup. It doesn't matter what it is. I just feel like we're in a very competitive world. And sometimes, you need to be competitive, but sometimes why can't you just cheer someone else on?
Okay, well, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was like short. I don't, not a lot of bitching this time, but.
All right, so my event of the week is actually about myself. I am mad, upset, and disappointed with myself for letting trolls and haters consume me online. I knew whenever I first started on this journey of music and wanting to make music, one of my main things was I wanted to spread awareness about mental health and depression, and I wanted to share the effects that has had on me, and I also wanted to share my progress and things that I've done that have helped me, and I wanted to make music about it that could possibly help someone else that's going through the same things. And I felt like I was on the right path. I was really enjoying it. It meant a whole lot to me, especially seeing that I was resonating with people in the way that I intended to. Getting so many people tell me thank you, even just, I think maybe just the song choices, if it wasn't like my own music. I always picked songs to cover that have a deeper meaning than just, fun little normal songs. That was always really important to me. And I just had a lot of people tell me how I had helped them in some way. It was like all the time.
Yeah.
And that meant so much to me because obviously that was my mission, I felt like.
Yeah. And then you feel like you just kind of lost that.
I did lose it, and I'm upset with myself, number one, because I feel like I let it get too overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Like it became too overwhelming for me, feeling like I now had this responsibility and this standard that people were holding me to that I had to deliver. And then I let my mental health get in the way of that and take over. And I don't know. I just lost my drive, I guess, maybe. But the really big thing was whenever I started to make an impact, a lot of hate came with that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of trolls came and really tried to dim my light, and I let them.
Mm-hmm.
I really took it to heart, and I let it affect me in a very negative way, to where now I'm very disappointed in myself because I feel like I was helping all these people in some way, and that too was also helping me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I've let these haters come in and take that away from me. I feel like I let a lot of people down.
Well, it's very big of you for sharing that, I think, because that's scary to let everyone know that you feel that way about yourself. I mean, usually our events aren't about ourselves, so I wasn't expecting that. But, I mean, I think the only thing you can do from here is move forward.
I know what I need to do is get back, and I think that's what I've been working on recently. And if there's anybody from my TikTok or Instagram that's here listening to this, that is the reason why I haven't really been posting a lot recently. For like the last almost 2 weeks, I really haven't posted much.
Yeah. Well, and it's scary though, unless if you're anyone out there, like put yourself in like someone like his shoes. You know, whenever you show yourself on any type of platform, you're going to get hate. And it's so easy to just be like, oh, it doesn't matter, that's just trolls. But like,
well, see, I think the reason why it affected me so strongly was because I was bullied my whole life in school.
so
ever since the 6th grade, all the way up into my senior year of high school, I was bullied nonstop, just because of me being different or something.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't like all the other boys that live in Louisiana, that hunt and fish. Like, I didn't grow up around any of that stuff, so I had nothing in common with a lot of these people, and I was bullied for it. Now, as an adult, I chose to go on there and share something that means a lot to me, knowing that I'm doing it for my mental health and also to help other people. And then, yeah, like you said, it's very easy for people to say, just let it go because it's going to come. I know it's going to come, but it's a lot harder to just let it go, especially I feel like whenever I've been traumatized
enough,
basically my whole life with the same kind of things that they're saying to me now.
And it doesn't mean that you're not going to go to bed and think about that, you know? Like, because I feel like most people, whenever, you know, you're trying to go to sleep and those, like, thoughts always creep in your head.
Yeah, they were burned into my head.
Yeah.
And so when I started getting all of that online, I'm just mad and I'm disappointed in myself that I let that become what I focused on instead of all of the positive things that I was doing. That's where I'm upset with me. So I'm venting about me allowing that to happen and feeling like I've let a lot of people down. I've let myself down, and I'm definitely going to fix it. I have to get back to the point where I was whenever I started, which was with that mission that I felt like I had and that purpose. And I will get back to that.
And like, you've already impacted so many people. So think about if you just get back on that journey, what you can do with your music. And that's what it's all about to you.
That's all it's about. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay, so yeah, those are our events of the week. And remember, guys, there's going to be a link in our show notes. If you want to submit your events of the week, we would love to touch on that. And
yeah, send us y'all's events. We want to hear y'all bitch.
Yeah.
We'll leave your names out. You don't even have to put your name. Just
anonymous.
And we'll talk about it, and we'll give our views on your event, because I'm sure there's a lot of bitching that we could agree with. So
yes, or disagree with. I mean, we might not agree with your event.
Or you could submit an event of you bitching about what we're bitching about.
Yeah.
If you disagree
and
or
it could just
agree, and
be
we'll
like
talk
an
about
add-on. Yeah.
So do you have any crazy like news stories that you came across this week that you want to share? Because I have one.
Okay, I have one. And, I haven't done like a lot of research. It was just something stupid, but it's
Same.
all over TikTok. So it's that Kanye West and Britney Spears are missing.
They're missing?
They're missing, yes. They're missing.
They're still right now?
Well, I haven't checked like in the past couple days, but...
That does not surprise me though, especially the Kanye.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me. I feel like something's going to happen to him.
And something has
soon.
been... So, everyone knows.
Everyone knows there's something very off with Britney, even after all of this,
Mm-hmm. What do they call that whenever it's like, I wanted to just say like a dupe for a person, but what is that?
A clone?
Yeah.
You think she's a clone?
I don't know. There's a lot of things that I think that I haven't really done my own research on it, but.
You never know. She could be.
I know. It's just like people always say like the way that she moves and the way that she used to move, like it's just totally different.
There's something very off with her.
Yeah.
It's kind of, that surprises me though that she might be missing, but it doesn't surprise me that Kanye might be missing.
Yeah.
He's stirring up a lot of shit lately.
Yeah.
He's saying too much and, the Illuminati and shit.
Yeah.
They're not going to put up with that.
And I think we should touch on that one day.
We'll definitely have to cover the Illuminati and all that.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're both very obsessed with Miss Billie Eilish.
Yes.
Did you know that her family home, so the documentary that we watched?
Mm-hmm.
Like her home that she grew up in, her and Phineas.
Oh, yeah.
That's where like all the music started.
Mm-hmm.
Her family still owns that home. She actually just, not recently, but maybe a year ago, just then bought her own house. She had been living there this whole time in that 2-bedroom.
In that old house?
Yeah.
I love that.
Like that's how
her,
humble
though.
she is. I love that about her.
Yeah.
But her family still owned the house, and it got burglarized a few nights ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I saw that come up on my For You page, and I was like, oh.
You were like freaking
Well,
out.
because at first it said Billie Eilish's home got
Yeah.
burglarized, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I found out it was that house, which they still owned. Nobody was home, though, at the time.
So she like has a different house with her boyfriend, and then
I don't know if he lives with her or not,
but she has
because she just recently got with this guy.
Yeah.
But she did purchase her own home in LA.
Oh, and her parents still live there though. That's sweet.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know for sure. They might not have lived there, but I know they still owned it.
Yeah.
They might have still lived there.
That's scary though.
It's just crazy because it wasn't in a very great part of LA.
Mm-hmm.
And
she stayed there for
she's
so
this
long.
huge.
Yeah.
So if you just think about the amount of money
Mm-hmm.
that she has made, not just recently, like she's had money for years now. And she was still living in that house
and
because it meant so much to her. That house means so much to her and her family. So
yeah. And does she still drive that same
She
car?
still has her Challenger. Yeah. I'm sure she has more than that now, but she definitely still owns and drives that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
All right, so should we get into this story?
Yes.
This is a crazy one. I'm sure a lot of people have probably seen this, especially on TikTok. It reminds me of the Gabby Petito case, how that one really blew up. So like people that weren't really even into true crime knew about it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this one's kind of similar. It's the Idaho Murders.
Yeah.
The 4 college students that were brutally stabbed to death in their apartment in Idaho.
Yeah, this one is definitely a sad one.
It's heartbreaking. Okay, so sources we used for this story are a Time magazine article by Sosire Berga, a Fox 13 Seattle article, Wikipedia, and TikTok. Specifically, her username is @LondonNotLondon. And guys, if y'all want to know anything more about this case and really learn all the details, please go check out her page because she does a really good job at really not speculating.
Mm-hmm.
She really cuts out all the speculation on her page.
Yeah, and she filters the comments, for the family's sake.
Yes, because the family is seeing a lot of this stuff, and speculation is fine whenever it's like a conspiracy. If we're talking about like a conspiracy theory or something like that.
Yeah.
But in an open and like active investigation, speculation can be really damaging to the case, and it really damaging to the family. So she really strays away from speculation. She really filters that on her page. So if y'all really just please go check her page out if y'all want to learn more.
Yeah.
Details about this case.
And it is really, I feel like there's such easy access now, to TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I know I was watching all of the siblings, and that is just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. 10 years ago, it was a lot harder. Like, you had to actually go on the news to be seen.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot easier. And it's also, that's the thing, it's a lot easier also to spread speculation. And so I've seen a lot of videos, and, you know, naturally we're going to be intrigued by the speculatory videos, because it's whenever people are talking about, well, what if it's this? Like, what if this is what happened?
Yeah.
Or what if this is why this happened? Like, it's very easy to stay on that, but it's just, it's not good.
Yeah. But you're right. It is easy to like go down that whole.
Yeah. Conspiracy type
Yeah.
mentality that people, and so I really like London Not London, because she really does a really good job at telling the story in a very factual way.
Yeah.
So in the early morning hours of November 13th of this year, 2022, between 4 and 4:25 a.m., 4 University of Idaho college students were stabbed to death in a shared rental home close to campus, in which 3 of these people lived there. The 3 female victims, Madison Mogan, Kaylee Gonsalves, and Xana Kernodle, lived at the house, while the 4th victim, Ethan Chapin, was Kernodle's boyfriend, who was sleeping over on the night of the attacks. 2 other female roommates also lived in the house, but they were not attacked. So it was just these 4. Earlier on the evening of November 12th, 2 of the 4 victims, Chapin and Kernodle, were at an on-campus party at a nearby Sigma Chi fraternity from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. They returned home at around 1:45 a.m. The other 2 victims, best friend Mogan and Gonsalves, had gone to this place called the Corner Club. It was a downtown sports bar at 10 p.m., from which they left from there at like 1:30 a.m. A live stream video from Twitch, this is a big video that's been circulating a lot. It's like a food truck. It's called the Grub Truck. You can see them there like ordering food, and this is where like the speculation comes in, because there was people in this video. There was people like in the background. That there's actually this one guy that was dubbed as the hooded guy. Everybody was looking at him like, because of the way he was standing there in line.
Yeah.
You
just
know,
like
waiting to
everyone
order.
else.
Right. Like I'd probably look like that too, because I'm an introvert. Like I'm not going to be super outgoing.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy, a lot of people were talking about him, thinking maybe he was the one that followed them home and whatever.
And that was around like 1:45?
Yeah, so this was around 1:40 a.m. You could see them on the video, chatting and smiling, getting their food, and then around 10 minutes later, after being there, they took an Uber home. This food truck was only about a mile from their house. Okay, so I think right now it's important to kind of discuss like this house. Okay, so this was a 3-story house. There was this sliding glass door in the back of the 2nd floor, and it was like ground level. So like that's where people would come in and out a lot of the time. It's also important to note that obviously this is a college town. There's, the college is right near where this house is located, and this house was known for throwing parties almost every weekend. Like the neighboring houses around this house, they were calling every weekend to police to report
noise complaints
and loud music and screaming and all this stuff. And there's actually videos, we'll put them on the screen. There's actually video of how many times the cops were actually called to this house. And you can just see in the videos that there were so many people in and out of that house all the time.
Hey ladies, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
We're not actually.
You don't know who lives here?
No, I don't.
It's here for noise complaints. Hey, who's the owner, or who lives here?
I can go get them real quick.
Okay, thank you, please.
We're only here for a noise complaint. Come to the damn door.
So I just looked for everyone that lives here, and they're not here right now.
No one's here that
No one's here
that lives at all.
No one's here that lives
So
here.
everyone here's trespassing?
Well, no one's here that's trespassing, but no one that lives here is here right now.
So where'd they go?
They're just not here. I have no clue where they went. No clue.
So you guys just throwing a party in their house at this
They were
time,
here
and
at one point. They're not here right now. I just
They-
searched all the rooms.
they left and went over to some other party, and everyone is about to
I
leave
just
and
searched
go
all
over
the
to
rooms
another
and looked
party.
for them.
Okay. Who does live here? What are their names?
I am actually not sure. I live across the street. I just came over. I haven't drank a drop.
Male, female?
I think it's mainly females. I think it's like 4 females.
What sorority are they affiliated with?
I don't know.
I don't.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know if they're.
I
associated
don't.
with the.
I
So
guarantee you they're associated with a sorority. As many of them are living here. It's an off-campus sorority house. I've been a cop for 22 years here. I'm not stupid. Don't play dumb games with me. I'd rather deal with this as a noise complaint than getting a hold of the Greek council and the Greek board and all of that and the students and playing all these stupid fucking games.
do you?
I don't know.
Really
I don't
quick
know.
question. Do you
Because I
want us-
guarantee you there's a lot of underage drinking because they left their alcohol behind.
Do you want us to try and get a name or a phone number, and
If
we
you
can
could.
call someone?
We just need to talk to somebody who lives here, because otherwise I have to be under the assumption you guys are unlawfully entered because no one who lives here is here.
Okay.
All right, can you hear me, Maddie?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Do you live at 1122 Queen Street?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So, hey, the reason that we're here is that we received a noise complaint of loud music, partying. Okay. Once we approached the house, people started running away. They left a bunch of alcohol behind. We're not even coming for alcohol. We're coming for the noise complaint. And then we sat here for approximately 10 minutes trying to knock on the door, and no one would come to the door until these two gentlemen came down and actually answered the door. So right now, if I can, I would like to collect your information, your name, number, your date of birth, and I'm guessing, and I want your current address also as well, okay?
Yeah, sounds good. I'm so sorry about that.
It's okay. So let me go ahead, and what's your first name? Maddie?
Could be maybe.
And how do you spell that, Maddie?
My legal name is Madison. It's Madison.
What's your middle name, Madison?
May, May.
Okay. What's your last name?
Mogen, Mogen.
Mogen?
Yep.
And is what's your current address?
1122 King Road.
Okay. And are you a student at U of I?
Yep.
Okay. All right, Madison. So here's the deal. Okay. They've already said that no one here lives at, none of the occupants that live at this address are here right now. So now you have a house full of random people. You need to let them know that the noise needs to come down. Okay. We just received a noise complaint. We want that music turned down. And we don't want to come back again tonight. If we have to come back again tonight, then there's going to be even more problems. Okay.
I see both sides.
Sounds good. I'm just frustrated. I'm also so sorry once again.
Hey, I understand. Okay. It's just, I mean, if I were you guys, I'd probably just come home and make sure that whoever is partying here is keeping it down to a minimum. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So at this point, we're going to leave. Okay. And again, if I have to come back later tonight, like I said, I just want to express that there's going to be some citations given out. Okay.
Okay. Very clear. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. You enjoy your evening. All right.
You too.
Bye.
Even in these videos, you can see people talking to the police. They don't even know who owns that or who lives in the house.
Yeah.
Like the police will ask them who lives in this house, and they don't even know.
Yeah.
Like they're just there because it's a party.
Yeah.
It's a college party. So a lot of people in this town knew the kind of weird layout that this house had.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll kind of get into that layout a little bit later. But basically, this was a very popular house.
Mm-hmm. So all 4 students were home by 1:56 a.m. 7 uncompleted phone calls were made from the phone of Kaylee to her former longtime boyfriend, a fellow student, from 2:26 to 2:52 a.m. Maddie also called Kaylee's ex 3 times with similar results from 2:44 to 2:52 a.m.
So this makes you wonder, what were they trying to call him for?
I know.
But we know about the DoorDash delivery for Xana,
Yeah.
which came around 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder what was going on around 3, that they were both trying to reach
Yeah.
this ex-boyfriend.
Why were they calling him multiple times?
I don't know. That's interesting.
Okay, so these calls were investigated with the police, concluding they did not believe he was involved in the crime. So that kind of clears his name.
Yeah. Did you
Okay.
know that Kaylee and this ex-boyfriend shared that dog, Murphy?
Oh. Hmm.
Yeah, so he actually got custody of the pup after
Oh.
the murder.
Imagine the trauma that little dog went through.
Yeah. So we'll talk about it a little later, but you can actually hear the dog on some audio surveillance footage where you can hear the dog barking, which is believed to have been during the time that whatever was happening.
Yeah. I did hear, though, or see on TikTok on London Not London's page, that the dog sometimes wasn't always verbal and it just kind of chilled.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that it.
So people
But
were
you know,
saying,
but that's because there was always so many people in and out of the
Yeah.
house. So it kind of got used to seeing all these different types of people. So when somebody that it didn't recognize came in the house, it's kind
not-
of normal that it didn't react in the way that we would expect.
our dogs to react.
Exactly.
So the 2 surviving roommates had returned home by 1 a.m. and original reports said that they were in their beds on the ground floor of the home at the time of the killings. They were not attacked or held hostage, and original reports stated that both surviving roommates did not awaken during the killings. However, the affidavit for the case stated that one surviving roommate was sleeping on the second floor, the same floor as Xana and Ethan, before she was awoken by what sounded like Kaylee and her dog, and later heard her roommate saying something to the effect of, quote, "There's someone here." That is chilling.
Well, see, that's chilling to us.
Yeah.
That would be chilling to hear, like, if I was in a different room and I heard you in the middle of the night say, "There's someone here."
Yeah.
Of course, that would freak the fuck out of me.
Yeah.
But we have to remember that there was always so many people in and out.
Yeah.
And so it might not have been as creepy to them. We later find out that this surviving roommate that they're talking about right now, her name's Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it probably wasn't as creepy to her.
Yeah.
To hear this, because she probably heard this a lot.
Yeah. Oh, there's someone here. Instead of, "There's someone here."
Yeah.
Dylan believed that this was Kaylee saying that someone is here.
Mm-hmm.
Although investigators believe that this might have been Xana speaking, as a forensic download of her cell phone showed that she was on the app TikTok at 4:12 a.m. The surviving roommate opened her door twice within a short span of time, and the second time heard what sounded like crying coming from Xana's room, and a male voice saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you."
Ooh. Which, see, she could have thought that this was Ethan saying
true.
this. Because,
Yeah.
you know, if she heard crying coming from Xana's room, she knew Ethan was in there because that was her boyfriend.
Mm-hmm. And it could
Maybe
have just been like an
maybe
innocent, like, you know.
Yeah, maybe
"It's
she
okay."
was telling him something and he was like, "It's okay."
Or maybe she was throwing up and he's like, "It's okay, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
even
help
that.
you."
Because, you know,
Yeah.
they partied a lot. So
Yeah.
she could have thought that this was anything, that it was him.
So security cameras near the home picked up the sound of whimpering, a loud thud, and a dog barking numerous times, starting around 4:17 a.m. Dylan opened her door a third time and saw a figure in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Oh my God. I would freak out.
Yeah.
You know what? I might just freeze, though, to be honest. Like, I don't know what I would do in that situation. I don't think anyone knows.
Well, because, you know, obviously it sounds like she was already kind of
like, maybe
on
like
edge.
peeking. Yeah, like maybe.
By how many times she was opening her door to,
Yeah.
like, see what was going on. Like, it kind of sounds like she was already on edge. And so then to open it a third fucking time and see.
I know. Like, expecting when you open it again, like.
For it to be nothing again. Yeah. To see somebody walking towards you in all black. Hell no.
The man, whom the roommate did not recognize, walked past her using the sliding glass door to exit. It is unknown if the man saw her.
Yeah, so I'm going to put up a layout of this area where Dylan's room was and where this man was coming from whenever he was coming from Xana's room. And you'll be able to see, you can see how he literally had to walk right past her doorway and then make that turn to go into the kitchen and then out of the sliding glass.
Yeah.
So-
I would have to imagine that he did not see her, or maybe like he just thought he didn't have enough time.
So a lot of people think that he didn't see her. So we don't know for sure yet. I'm sure we'll find out later, but she might have only just had the door cracked. Like she might have just been barely looking out.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know for sure if he even saw her.
Yeah. She stood in a frozen shock phase. Well,
As she should.
Fucking so.
Yeah.
And then locked herself in her room. The 4 victims were stabbed to death on the 2nd and 3rd floors in the home where they had been in bed.
Yeah, so they said that Kaylee and Maddie, which they were best friends, they had been best friends for like their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know both of their rooms were upstairs on the 3rd floor, but I know that night it was said that they were sleeping together in Maddie's room.
Mm-hmm.
So they were both killed there.
That just makes you wonder. Think about laying in bed next to each other and one of you is getting stabbed to death.
It makes you wonder, yeah, but see, like they always say, like you never know how you're going to react in that situation. It's very hard for us to understand how, if you're seeing your best friend getting murdered right next to you, how do you not scream?
Yeah.
But like I said, we would never know. She might have just been completely shocked,
Mm-hmm.
couldn't believe what was happening right
Terrified,
you know,
frozen.
which I don't even think we know who was killed first, so I can't say who that would have been, but it's just hard to believe that there was no screaming.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's really any reports of there being any screaming. I mean, the 2 surviving roommates never reported hearing anybody like screaming, like something like that was happening.
And that's just crazy because it's, you know, it says the victims were not gagged or restrained.
Yeah.
So
it must have just been really quick, and it must have just, I don't know, scared the shit out of them
yeah.
if they couldn't do anything.
It's just something we'll never know. The victims were not gagged or restrained, and the walls at the scene were splattered with blood.
Yeah, there's actually a picture, which is, it's heartbreaking. It's also kind of graphic, so here's a warning for that. I'm going to put it on the screen, but you can actually see blood dripping out on the side of the house, on the outside. That was taken.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, like that's how much blood was pulled up.
That has to be so hard, for their parents to see that.
Yeah, it's
Maddie and Kaylee were found in Kaylee's bedroom, and Xana and Ethan were found in Xana's bedroom.
okay, so they were both sleeping in Kaylee's. I thought it was Maddie's room.
Yeah.
And I think the dog Murphy, I think the dog was found in the other room. So, but we also don't know if the killer moved the dog to the other room, but that is where the dog was found.
There's just so much unknown.
So much. And there's more to come. I think we're going to find out a lot more details as this case goes on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this trial that's going to happen. But until then, we kind of just wonder. And see, like, a lot of this information wasn't even known at first.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the police knew a lot of this stuff. Like, interviewing the surviving roommates and stuff. But it wasn't shared with the public until they had the suspect in custody. So for a little bit, a lot of this went on and we didn't know. And there was so much speculation saying that the roommates had something to do with it.
Yeah.
The surviving roommates had something to do with it, because I think we're about to get to it, but the 911 call. So they say that this happened between 3 and 4 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
And the 911 call didn't come in until almost noon the next day. And so a lot of people were like, why did it take 8 hours for the other roommates to call the police? But a lot of this information didn't come out. And so now we know Dylan, she saw this person.
Mm-hmm. But you don't know what, you just don't know what was going through her head. It might not have seemed as creepy as it sounds.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
She may have just thought it was just another random person in this house because this is what always happened. Mm-hmm. Or she could have been severely shocked and terrified that she locked herself in her room, because it was said that she locked herself in her room.
Oh, so she knew something was up.
Yeah, so she could have just been completely scared to death to even make a sound.
Yeah.
For even if it was 8 hours, it might have taken her 8 hours to work up the courage to come out of that room.
Yeah.
And try to figure out what had happened. We just don't know right now.
Which, that is justified if in my eyes.
It's understandable to me. Like, I can't tell you what I would do in that situation, but if I knew, or if I had an inkling that something like that happened, I probably wouldn't want to make a sound either.
Yeah.
For as long as, I could. Mm-hmm. Just on the off chance that he didn't leave.
Yeah. Maybe
he just went outside to get something.
But yeah, because that is true. You
Like,
never
you don't
know.
know.
Like, is
She
he
didn't
coming
know.
back or,
She didn't know. So a lot of people gave her a lot of shit for a while because they just speculated that she had something to do with it or she knew what happened. But it could just be a very simple explanation.
Yeah.
We just don't know.
Okay, so to continue what you were saying, no calls to 911 were made until 11:58 a.m., many hours after the early morning killings. At that time, a call was made from inside the residence from the cell phone of one of the surviving students who lived in the residence, asking for aid in an unconscious person.
Yeah, and so that was like speculated a lot too, because it was like, why did the call come in for an unconscious person? Like, could she not clearly see if there was that much blood that was reported, if there was all this, evidence that something crazy traumatic had happened? Why would she call and say
unconscious? Yeah. But
see, I think it came out later that they obviously did see something. These two roommates that survived, they obviously did see something that scared the shit out of them, that they went outside because they were so freaked out by whatever they saw. And so the 911 operator, what people are saying is that they really couldn't understand what the caller was saying. And so I think the 911 operator just put it in as an unconscious person, because that was really kind of all they could understand or they could get from them at that moment. They really weren't understanding what was said. So that was another thing that was really criticized at the beginning, was because we knew that this 911 call was for an unconscious person, and people were like, how the fuck
would you just
put it in as that? But I think that's why. I think that really explains a lot.
When police arrived, the door to the home was open. There was no sign of forced entry or damage inside the home, and nothing appeared to be missing. The 2 surviving roommates were in the residence when the police arrived, as were other friends of the victims. The identity of the 911 caller was not released, and the person was not considered a suspect. So all 4 victims were pronounced deceased at 12 noon. Detectives believe the killings occurred sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m. That night, officers came up on Kaylee's dog, which she shared with her ex-boyfriend, alive and unharmed at the house. It was ultimately handed over to what police said was a responsible party.
Yeah, which we now know was the ex, Yeah, so this case is just so terrifying, and it's because it's obviously so easy for this to happen. It's so possible, and you just never know. You just never know. Like at this point in this story, it wasn't known. It wasn't even, nobody knew. Nobody had any idea who this could have been because, like we said earlier, there were so many people in and out of this house that it was just unknown.
I know.
So before we go any further, I want to just talk about each victim, give a little bit of backstory on them. Ethan Chapin was 20 years old at the time of his death. He was a triplet, and he is survived by his parents and his siblings, Maisie and Hunter. All 3 triplets enrolled in the University of Idaho last August. Ethan was a freshman majoring in sports management and a member of the Sigma Chi fraternity. He was dating 20-year-old Xana Kernodle. Ethan was originally from Conway, Washington, and attended Mount Vernon High School where he played basketball. And this quote was actually in his obituary. It says, quote, "Since attending the University of Idaho, Ethan lived his best life. He lived the social life, intramurals, and tolerated the academics. He also continued to play sports."
So he did it all, basically.
He was literally on top of the world. He was living his best life, so young,
sad. Yeah.
so much ahead of him. Tyler Amaya, which was Ethan's former coach, said that he has fond memories of the 20-year-old. They met whenever he was just a boy, and he watched him grow into the young man that he was before this tragic death. Quote, "He lit up many of my dark days when maybe things weren't rolling for me. Ethan comes in the gym and all of a sudden everything is meaningful again," his coach says. Ethan's girlfriend, Xana Kernodle, an Avondale, Arizona native, was a junior who was majoring in marketing and a member of the Pi Beta Phi sorority. Ethan and Xana were friends before they even began dating, which is what Ethan's mother said. By this summer, Xana was spending time with the entire Chapin family.
Oh, so they were literally just like one big family.
Yes, it's heartbreaking. Xana's older sister, Jasmine, said that she was lighthearted and the kind of person who always lifted up a room. Quote, "You rarely get to meet someone like Xana," her sister said via text message. Quote, "She was so supportive, funny, and was loved by everyone who met her." Xana went to high school in the scenic northern Idaho city of Post Falls. For her graduation in 2020, she decorated her mortarboard with flower and butterfly cutouts and the words, quote, "For the lives that I will change."
Oh my gosh.
She had so much drive. You can just tell. So Kaylee Gonzalez was 21 at the time of her tragic death. She was roommates with Xana and Madison. She was a senior majoring in general studies, and she was a member of the Alpha Phi sorority. She grew up with Maddie in northern Idaho, and they were super close friends. Like, they were best friends their whole life. People considered them practically sisters. That's how close they were. Pictures of the pair as tweens making silly faces for the camera, wearing matchy navy and khaki school-style uniforms and carefully laced sneakers, and side-by-side in high school graduation gowns were accompanied by a heartfelt caption. Quote, "I wouldn't have wanted anyone else to be the main character in all of my childhood stories," is what Kaylee wrote.
Oh, that's sad. And I did see where there was a video of Kaylee's mom, and she was saying, like, Maddie, like, friends would come and go with Kaylee, but Maddie was always her number one best friend, her ride or die, and she became part of the family.
Yeah.
You know, that's just, it's sad. They were just one big family.
Yeah, so Maddie replied to this and said, quote, "I love you more than life, my best friend forever and more." Kaylee's sister said, quote, "She had everything going for her, absolutely everything. She had her job lined up. She had worked really hard for it." So Madison Mogan, or Maddie, 21, was a senior at the University of Idaho and was majoring in marketing. She was also a member of the Pi Beta Phi sorority with Xana Kernodle, and they both had jobs at the Mad Greek restaurant in downtown Moscow. So they both worked here, Maddie and Xana, where Maddie would actually use her marketing skills to run social media campaigns for the business.
Wow.
Yeah. She grew up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and had known Kaylee since junior high. Kaylee's mother said the two were best friends. After graduating this spring, Maddie had plans to move to Boise. Okay, so now let's get into the investigation of this case and what the police found and kind of where we're at right now. As this is still pending.
Ongoing, yeah.
It's still ongoing, yeah. So the investigation was conducted by the Moscow Police Department, supported by the Idaho State Police and the Latah County Sheriff's Office. On November 19th, police requested the public provide any video of the house that had been recorded the night of the killings, which we now know that apparently some people did submit some surveillance video nearby.
Yeah.
But, as this was happening, nothing was coming in. The police weren't sharing any information, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
They weren't sharing any information because they really wanted to make sure that they had the right person before they made the arrest, and they were compiling as much evidence as they could.
Yeah, because that's a huge accusation. They want to make sure they get it right.
Huge. A phone tip line and email were created for students and others to submit potential evidence to the officials. By December 5th, it was reported that there had been more than 2,600 emailed tips.
Oh my God.
And 2,700 phone calls.
What?
And 1,000 digital media submissions from the public to these tip lines.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
To have to sift through, to see what's bullshit and because
And see, that's the thing, they have to investigate every lead. Yeah, that's a lot of fucking work. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there were so many people that gave this police department so much shit for a pretty good bit, but now I think a lot of people understand how much work they were actually doing. So altogether, they had received around 15,000 tips regarding just this case.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot of fucking work. So hats off to them for sure.
Yeah.
The Latah County coroner conducted autopsies on all 4 of the victims on November 17th. She said that they all appeared to have been stabbed multiple times with fatal wounds in the chest and upper body with a very large knife. If not the same knife, it was very similar ones, which I'm assuming maybe at that time she didn't know if there was multiple killers. So she was saying that they were very similar knives if they were different.
Yeah.
But we now know that it was just one person.
Yeah.
Well, allegedly.
When did you get the call on Sunday?
I got the call just a few minutes after noon that there were 4 homicides, but I didn't go to the scene because of law enforcement doing their investigation first. So I didn't actually go to the scene until about 5 or 5:30.
So in your experience, what is it that you saw when you showed up?
Well, there was a lot of blood. It's a very sad scene with 4 murdered college students.
You're rolling all 4 deaths, homicides?
Yes.
And can you give us a manner of death? Yeah.
I believe that the press release was that they were from a sharp object. So
stabbings.
Yeah, we'll know more after the autopsies tomorrow.
Do you believe this could be a murder-suicide?
No, there are 4 homicides.
At least one victim with what were apparently defensive stab wounds on her hands appeared to have tried to fend off their attacker. None of the victims showed signs of sexual assault, and toxicology reports are pending. All 4 deaths were deemed homicide by stabbing, obviously. They were not tied or gagged, and no weapon has been recovered. Even still today, no weapon has been recovered. Though the police believe the killer or killers used a fixed blade knife. The police left open the possibility that there could have been more than one person responsible for these murders. Police stated that they believe it was a targeted attack, but they have not concluded if the target was the residents or the occupants. In a press conference held on November 23rd, the Moscow police chief said that authorities have received a number of tips, including that Kaylee allegedly had a stalker, but they were unable to verify that claim or identity of such individual at that time. So that makes you wonder if this was like a stalker situation.
I know.
Which that's really fucking scary, because I know that I've expressed to you how much that freaks me out.
Yeah.
When I have those stalkers, when people start showing me like the stalker side of them,
I know.
I get nervous that they're going to just somehow.
Because they do say like, oh, well, what if I just come to Louisiana? That scares me.
It scares me. It makes me want to leave.
Can't just leave.
No. But yeah, like that's really scary if you think about TikTok and Instagram and like online. They had a really big online presence, and so they were always posting stuff on there. And so it's not completely like crazy that they would have some stalkers.
Right.
Because it didn't take much for me to get my stalkers.
Mm-hmm.
And to think that maybe one of these stalkers had something to do with this, especially because like everybody knew where they lived.
Yeah.
So after receiving hundreds of tips from the public, on December 15th, police announced that they were searching records of approximately 22,000 fifth-generation Hyundai Elantras that were made between 2010 and 2015. An Elantra had been imaged by a body camera in the area of the killings around the time that these killings took place.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what I was talking about earlier. Like there was another call, and you could see in that body cam footage that there was this white Hyundai Elantra, and it was the only vehicle on the road around the time that they think all this.
And then what they put out?
So they put that out into the public.
22,000?
This could have been like a broader area.
Than
maybe.
just like that small area. But still, that's a lot.
Yeah. So they put this out to the public, and they were asking if anybody knew, especially probably in this area or, somewhere close, if anybody knew anybody that owned one of these or that could have been in one, to, let the investigators know. Because it was the only vehicle on the road at the time that they saw.
Crazy.
It's actually crazy because in this body cam footage, you can see this house. You can see the house, and you can see like the light. There's a light of one of the bedrooms. You can see that light on. So investigators traced the ownership of a Hyundai Elantra to a local individual, Bryan Kohberger, who drove the car with his father to Pennsylvania for the holidays, but was pulled over twice within a nearly 5-mile radius by Indiana State Police on Interstate 70 around Greenfield, Indiana, for speeding and tailgating. So this is the whole thing. There's body cam footage of this Indiana State Police officer pulling over this white Hyundai Elantra, and it has Bryan in it, but it's also his dad
in the passenger seat.
And we're actually going to play this.
Hello. How you doing? How y'all doing today? Good, good. Take a look at your driver's license real quick if I could. See, he's right up on that van, man. You were right up on the back end of that van. Pulled you over for tailgating. Is this your car? Okay, cool.
So it's really kind of hard to hear Bryan, but really just watch his eyes.
Yeah, he looks like a fucking...
Because you can kind of hear, this is his dad sitting in the passenger seat. You can kind of hear what his dad says and just watch his eyes. I mean, you don't even have to hear him to know that this is probably the motherfucker that did it.
Yeah.
Where are you headed?
We're going to, well, we're coming from WSU, and we're scanning early.
What's WSU?
Yeah, I go to university, basically. Yeah, we were listening to this incident that was occurring up there. There was a shooting incident. That is SWAT team and everything.
So we're, okay, I'm having a hard time hearing you because of the traffic. So you're coming from Washington State University?
Yeah.
And you're going where? Oh.
We're going to be going to Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're slightly punchy because we're driving for hours.
Hours, days.
Hours. We're driving. Well, almost a day.
Okay. And what did you say about some SWAT team thing? Or
yeah, there was a mass shooting and everything.
Where?
This was essentially rented an alley.
Interesting.
Well, it's horrifying because he's supposed to the universe, you know what I mean?
So y'all work at the university there?
I actually do work there.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that incident. Just yesterday, or?
No, this happened this morning. About an hour and a half ago. They're still wrapping it up for investigating. I'm not sure there's two shootings because they did shoot somebody.
I see.
And then you don't know about that actually. They were apparently shooting out of the window or something.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. So do me a favor, don't follow too close, okay?
Oh.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate you.
This whole clip is just, it's really like chilling.
Mm-hmm.
But the big thing is, why was his dad there?
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of people wonder, was his dad involved in some kind of way? Or does his dad even know at this moment during this stop? Does his dad know what his son did? Allegedly. Allegedly.
Okay.
We're going to say allegedly.
Okay.
You know,
Let's
innocent
not get
until proven
into
guilty, whatever,
yeah.
blah, blah, blah. Fuck that shit. But
if he did, he played it off, or he thought he played it off by saying that's horrifying.
But honestly, to me, if you watch the body language of Bryan, whenever his dad says certain things and the way Bryan reacts and the way he kind of looks at him like, what the fuck are you doing right now? It kind of makes me believe that his dad doesn't know. So that has a lot of people curious as to if his dad had anything to do with it. I personally don't think his dad did.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think his dad might know?
That something is not right.
Maybe. Maybe he does.
Or maybe he's just like a parent who thinks that his kid could do no wrong, so that doesn't even cross his mind.
Maybe now his dad might know. But I think at the time of this traffic stop, I don't think his dad knew.
Yeah.
Because you kind of have to put yourself in his shoes. If you knew what your son had done, would you be saying all this stuff? Would you even... I wouldn't even say where we just came from.
Yeah.
You know?
I would just sit there and let my son talk, you know?
Right. So I really don't think his dad had anything to do with it. I think it was Bryan altogether. Just...
Yeah. But, I mean, who really knows?
You can look in his fucking eyes and tell...
What a fucking
that there's something
creep.
wrong with him.
Yeah.
All right. So the FBI denied allegations that they had directed this Indiana State Police to make the stops. Which, see, I thought that was true.
I know.
Because I did read something, but see, I don't want to get like into speculation or anything, but there was some information that came out, and I think it was in the affidavit, I thought, that said the Moscow Police Department or the FBI actually told the Indiana State Police to pull this vehicle over because they wanted to get footage on body cam.
I do remember seeing that of his hands to see if there were any cuts.
Right, and you can see some cuts and what looks like cuts and scrapes on his hands.
I mean, it's not like magnified, so you can't clearly see, but you can make out that there is something. You know,
yeah, you can definitely see something. And so, I don't know, I thought that was true. I thought they really did ask them to do that. So, investigators had also obtained a sample of DNA from the crime scene that did not belong to any of the victims. This DNA was actually found on a knife sheath that was found by Maddie's bed. This is also kind of interesting because once they got Bryan Kohberger's cell phone records and, you know, showed like where his cell phone was pinging at on the day of the murders, it did show that numerous times he went back to the area around the house before the 911 call was made. So like after the murder, so after 4 or 5 a.m., around, you know, before the murder or before the 911 call came in, or at around noon, he had visited or revisited the house a few times. And so a lot of people think that it's because he realized at that moment that he didn't have this knife sheath. And so he was like, fuck, now they're going to find this and they might find my DNA on it. So a lot of people think he was going back there to try to decide if he wanted to go in and try to get it. So they actually found his DNA on the button of this knife sheath. And, you know, between that and the Hyundai Elantra, you know, that was registered to him, they were kind of tracking Bryan for a while. And they actually took DNA from some of his trash back in Pennsylvania from his house.
Wow.
So that is a real thing, if y'all didn't know, that police can go get your trash and use the DNA from it to see if you're a match.
Yeah.
So that's what they did, and they matched the DNA to the knife sheath, and
here we are.
And here we are. So it's actually crazy because prior to the arrest, investigators actually were monitoring Bryan outside of his parents' house in Pennsylvania. He was seen multiple times wearing surgical gloves and was seen putting trash bags inside of the garbage can of a neighbor. So he was...
What?
It was clear. Like, he was trying to hide his trash in a neighbor's trash can because he... You know,
didn't want it to be tied to him.
He's probably heard of the Golden State Killer and how they caught him, which was by getting his trash and matching his DNA. So it's pretty clear that he was trying to hide something. The items were sent to the Idaho State Lab for testing. Authorities also said that Bryan had cleaned his car inside and outside, not missing an inch. So investigators obtained cell phone data that showed that Bryan's phone stopped connecting to the network around 2:47 a.m. in Pullman on November 13th before reconnecting around 4:48 a.m. near Blaine, Idaho. So basically, you know, in today's age, we all know that police can trace literally everywhere you go with your cell phone. So any smart criminal, if they were trying to go commit some kind of crime, would leave their phone behind.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, he turned it off. That's where his first mistake was made. Obviously, we're not saying that we wanted him to get away with this, but you can't just turn your phone off and then go commit whatever crime you're trying to commit, thinking that that's going to like give you some kind of alibi.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it's showing that your phone is off. Like they're going to be able to tell. You should have left your phone behind somewhere so that it is pinging somewhere, but just not where whatever crime took place. But his mistake was he turned it off. So this was pretty obvious. Cell phone data also shows that he was near the victim's residence around 9 a.m. on November 13th, approximately 5 hours after the killing. So this is what I was talking about. He was going back to the house.
Mm-hmm.
It also showed that he was going by the house multiple times the day before, or the days leading up to the murders. He was going by the house.
Like scoping it out.
Yeah, so he was near the residence at least 12 times between June of 2022 and November 13th.
Oh my God.
He was like playing this shit. A surviving roommate, who we now know as Dylan, who saw the suspect, described him as a male stranger that was around 5 feet 10 inches tall, not very muscular, but athletically built, with very bushy eyebrows, because that was all she could really see was his eyes and his eyebrows.
Bryan was arrested on 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 felony count of burglary, was appointed a public defender, and detained without bond at the Monroe County Correctional Facility in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. On his return to the Monroe County Courthouse on January 3rd, 2023, he agreed to extradition. He was extradited on January 4th and taken to Latah County Jail, where he was held without bail.
So see, this is where so much of the fucking shit comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Because the biggest thing was the police could not release any of this evidence that they had against Bryan Kohberger until he was arrested and served the papers. Because of the laws in Idaho.
Yeah.
So apparently there's like a lot of states where even before this person is like served these papers and like explains why he was arrested and all this stuff, they can release the evidence.
Yeah.
But for Idaho, you can't do that. And so they had to hold all of this information. Until he was brought back to Idaho. So Bryan made his first appearance in the Latah County Court on January 5th, 2023, and he was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary for breaking into a home with the intent to commit a felony.
And court documents showed that Bryan was linked to the stabbings through DNA evidence on a knife sheath found at the scene.
Authorities have not yet identified a motive in the killings or identified whether Bryan had a connection to any of the victims, but as we said earlier, and as a lot of people think, it's believed that he was stalking them, because he was actually following, I think, Kaylee and Maddie, both on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, like, he knew who they were, even though they didn't know who he was. The murder weapon has also never been located still to this day. They have not found the murder weapon. The next hearing in this case is scheduled for Thursday, January 12th of 2023.
It's really fucked up, especially whenever you, like I said, it's a new age. Whenever you watch their TikTok videos,
it really is sad.
I mean, if you just look at the joy and their energy.
Well, you can see that Kaylee and Maddie were clearly best friends.
Yeah.
They absolutely adored each other. Their families considered them both their daughters. And it's just heartbreaking. It really is. It makes you really scared for, your own kids. Because it just seems so innocent, and it's like it can absolutely, obviously, 100% happen.
And like I can say that I have watched their videos, and with our daughter, who is, even though she's only 7, I mean, shoot, I feel like she's like 15 years old by the way she acts. And
it's not far off. It's not far off before she's in college, and
that fucking scares me to death, because there are fucking creeps out there like him for no reason whatsoever. Like, you never know what's going to draw someone.
Yeah. So, the crazy thing about him is that once we found out who is the suspect in this murder, in these murders, a lot of people started doing research. The police obviously were doing a lot of research. They found these Reddit posts, because we know he was actually posting on Reddit asking for other murderers or serial killers or whoever to respond to his posts, and he was asking them, like, basically he wanted to know like what goes through their head,
but like,
and what leads them to that point. And so although, you know, it may seem innocent to some people, we know now that it was pretty clear that he really just wanted to know.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, myself included, think that he thought he was very educated, very smart. And I feel like he wanted to do this.
Get away with it and do it again.
Yeah, he not only wanted to see if he could get away with it. He thought he was, you know, smart enough to be able to get away with this. But I think he, for the most part, wanted to just know what it felt like.
Yeah. And that is so sick, though.
It is sick. And so ooh.
Like, who thinks about, like, oh, I wonder what it would be like to kill someone, to stab
scary.
someone to death.
It's scary. But it seems pretty obvious that this is kind of maybe his motive. There wasn't really any other motive in my eyes than him just wanting to know what it felt like.
Yeah,
to do
that
it,
experience.
and to see if he could get away with it.
Yeah.
Which, again, I'm going to say this probably for the, fourth time. This is all alleged, but it's pretty fucking clear.
Yeah.
That this was him. So, yeah. So, obviously, this case is still ongoing. The next hearing is on January 12th. There's no telling what's going to come between now and then.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot to come, I think. And we don't know if he's going to take a plea deal or if he's going to go to trial and go through all of this. If he does go to trial, I really feel for the victims' families because they're going to have to be there and they're going to have to hear a lot of things, which I know they know a lot already. They're really going to have to go through like every little detail of every single thing that happened to their daughters and their son.
Yeah.
And that's just, I can't imagine. They were living their best life.
Yeah.
They really were. They were having fun. And, you know, just like any other college kid, they were just making the best out of life.
And something very tragic happened.
And it seems like it was so unexpected. It was unexpected.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for our second episode. Yeah, and don't forget if there's any topics that you would like to request.
Yes, there will be a link in the show notes, guys. Y'all can submit y'all's requests. If there's anything y'all want to hear us talk about, we'll definitely talk about that in a future episode.
Yeah, because right now we just kind of go through and see what we think is interesting. So
yeah, and like this Idaho Murders case it's pretty. I feel like everybody kind of knows about that right now. So we kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit, but we'd love to hear what you guys want to hear. We're really kind of after the stuff that isn't super popular. Like, you know, I don't really want to come on here and talk about John Wayne Gacy or, you know, Jeffrey Dahmer or something that everybody kind of already knows. We really wanted it to kind of be a place where we talk about stuff that isn't really reported on a lot.
Yeah.
Which obviously the Idaho murders are reported on a lot. I really just felt like we wanted to talk about that because it is so huge right now.
Yeah.
And we kind of wanted to just give our own view on it. And
yeah, but I know like whenever I'm trying to listen, like I listen to podcasts whenever I'm busy. So I'm kind of tend to scroll past the ones that I've heard a million times. You know?
The ones you already know.
Yeah.
We're kind of after those, you know, unknown ones, the ones that need more attention. And we kind of want to help in that way.
Yeah. And conspiracy theories. I think that's going to be our next thing that we do.
I think we should do a conspiracy theory next week.
Yeah.
For sure. Because there's a lot. There's a lot that I'm interested in. There's a lot of...
I think that'll be fun.
Yeah. So we will see you guys next week with a brand new story. And I hope everybody stays safe.
And stay weird.
Bye.
Bye.